some hot subjects. We're going to do a slightly different show today. We're going to start it off with some predictions. We've got, we've had a busy 6 months, but we've also got a lot of things going on in the next 6 months, and a lot of fighters with lots of challenges and things that are going on. So we want to start talking about some predictions. So we're going to start with you, Spence, and your first prediction. We've got an announcement that's just been made today, or recently, about
Eubank Jr. Benn 2 has been announced September the 20th. Seen it all over social media. Interestingly, though, Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't posted anything about this yet, nor has Boxer and Ben Shalom. So, we take it as it is, that the fight is happening September the 20th. I think that Chris Eubank Jr. wins again.
Yeah, that's your prediction, isn't it?
Yeah, my prediction is that he wins again. But this all depends on what stipulations are put in place, as in, will they have the rehydration clause in there? Will they not have it in there? It's going to be made at 160,
But the belief system
I
is, I think it is, that is exactly the same contract, isn't
it?
It's exactly a mirror image of the first fight.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, do you agree? I mean, we'll get into perhaps some mechanics of how, when and why someone can win or lose. But do you agree with the in principle assessment that it's Eubank again that's likely to be the victor in the outcomes?
Well, he won the first fight. And he won it 2 or 3 rounds, I thought. I thought he finished fantastically, even with the weight issues. I thought he gutted it out, Chris, actually, in a terrific fight. Let's not forget how good it was in April. Contracted rematch, as you said, exactly the same. I think I'd like to have seen it possibly at 162, 163.
Was that as much to do with the fact that Conor doesn't hit as hard as possibly he needed to unseat Chris Eubank?
I mean, he believed he hit hard enough and didn't take advantage of that, and he'll get that confidence going into the September rematch. Look, I think it will be made again at 160. I'd liked maybe a little bit more wriggle room for Chris. However, he'll be 6 months older. He'll start favourite, but I think Conor Benn will gain from that defeat, and I think he'll make it closer.
Wiggle room from the principle of having a higher weight class, or for the rehydration clause that he voluntarily signs up for his £1 million bonus.
It's money, isn't it? And that's why he'll take the rematch, and that's why it will happen. And it's a fight, again, that will gain a huge amount of attention because it's Eubank and Benn, and they gave us a classic first time around. Will it live up to it? Will it be quite as dramatic? The storyline, the eggs, the dad, everything. Maybe not, but there will be twists and turns, and it's a wonderful narrative. It's a fantastic rematch, and it's one we're looking forward to.
See, I disagree with the idea it was a classic, but we'll get back into that in a moment. Let's hear what Carl Frampton had to say the other day about the rematch itself.
If you're Chris Eubank, I would say yes, because of his age, and because of, it's about money at this stage of your career. If you're Conor Benn, on the other hand, I would say stay away from it. I just don't think you want to be involved in too many fights like that. And Conor Benn still has a chance to become a legitimate world champion in the welterweight or light middleweight division. So I think he should focus on that. He'll make a bag of money if he fights Chris Eubank again. Both of them will. But they already made a bag in their first fight. So how much money do you need? It's one of them ones. I think if Conor Benn and his team are sensible, I think maybe avoid the rematch. He could win the rematch, but it's going to be a hard fight.
Well, events have overtaken that sort of thinking, but what do you make of what Carl was saying in basic premise, Adam?
Yeah, Carl's brilliant. I love Carl as an analyst, really enjoying working with him. I think, look, Conor Benn could easily settle at a more natural weight, but he wanted this fight for a long time, and the public want this fight. And
the first one, yeah.
Yeah, but it was, I know you don't think it was a classic.
Boots Ennis has gone up now from 147, so there's...
It wasn't a world title fight classic, but it was a fantastic, thunderous battle between two guys who didn't have to do what they did and did. And I think that they will go again. It will be round 13. And I think it's a fight that just has to happen.
What do you mean didn't have to do what they did? They orchestrated an opportunity off the legacy of their fathers with two fighters that have not done huge things in their careers. Chris has challenged for 2 world titles and lost in both occasions. Conor's never been at that level. And what was arriving at their opportunity was a huge amount of money for 2 fighters that haven't achieved the levels that would normally warrant this kind of return.
But have you seen either of them bare their souls like they did in April? I thought they were terrific.
I'm playing devil's advocate for the purpose of the conversation. Did they have any choice, Adam? The hullabaloo and the legacy of their two fathers and all the background noise and all the Disneyfication and all the scandal and all the debates about Conor Benn failing drugs tests, Chris Eubank having his view on the world and the way he sees things, the fights and the battles with the promoters, shutting everybody down. They had no choice but to go into that fight, surely with everything that was on offer and the expectation levels and the way this fight had been built up into this huge event. And then you've got these two gladiators, whatever I think of them, Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. I've spent time with both of them and I can tell you which one I prefer, which is Nigel. But the fact of the matter is you've got these two great spectres. They couldn't have gone and done anything else, could they?
We have no control when that bell goes how good a fight is going to be. I was in Hull on Saturday night, Shakan Vidders, Brad Ray, European level, yes, but it was absolutely fabulous. They both gave everything. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank did exactly the same thing at the end of April, and they didn't need to. They went really deep, Simon, and for that I have huge respect for both of them.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, one of the alleged standout moments, and the producers say it's a standout moment, is the arrival of Chris Eubank Sr. Let's have a look at that.
He's here! And the crowd are going wild! Father and son reunited! Simply the best! And that is the picture of the year so far! Absolutely brilliant!
Now, the way the fight was curated and choreographed in terms of the build-up to the fight, of course that's going to be a moment. Whether he was incentivised to be there, we heard the backstory from Chris Eubank Sr. for 18 months about how this was an appalling set of circumstances, how he never wanted any part of it, how he felt it was legalised murder at one respect of his father. Then he turned his attitude towards the fact that Conor Benn shouldn't be in this fight. So with all that in mind and the spectacle that it became, and it was brilliant commentary from you when you saw it, and it really lifted it off the screen. I remember watching it the next day when I watched the fights. But when you've got that sort of backdrop, how are they going to create another narrative? We've had the egg slap. We've had the shutdown of Eddie. We've had the shutdown of Frank. We've had people being called scumbags. We've had all the arguments about whether he should and shouldn't be having this fight. We've had all the parental stuff. So you've got to have scriptwriters in Hollywood now writing out a narrative for these two boys to swallow, right?
Not really, because I think what they delivered on the night exceeded anything that any of us expected. You know, we remember the fathers. Absolutely.
Did it?
Absolutely, because they left their souls and they left everything in that ring.
Did you not think they were going to anyway?
No,
I did.
No, but
why?
Yeah, no, but
I didn't think it'd be like that.
Whatever we would have thought, they have to deliver that and they have to do it. Chris Eubank Jr. in round 9 walked back to that corner and I thought, this kid's done it.
Yep.
And he showed something from somewhere, and that was one of the best 12th rounds of any contest I've seen, the way that they both just left it in there, how they both dug deep, the way that they dug deep. So I think now going into the return, for the fan, they're going to go, well, of course we want to see this now. Like we don't need the pantomime build-ups to what we do because we know what they're going to deliver in the ring. And it will, Adam's right in what you say, it will kick off, round 13 will be the beginning.
And the twists and turns and unpredictability of boxing as well. And we didn't know which way it was going to manoeuvre until fight night. Chris Eubank Sr. turning up was a genuine surprise, hence the reaction of Darren, Barry and I on commentary. We didn't think he was going to be there. That was brilliant. It was a masterstroke and the ring walks were phenomenal. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what happens in the ring. And they delivered in bucket loads. And whether they can again is interesting. Yeah. Rematches often aren't quite as fiery as the first time because they've done that, but they may just be. Look at Batebiev and Bivol in a different way. Their rematch was probably better than the first one.
Yeah, but they're world-level fighters.
Of course.
Right? And we're talking about the highest echelon.
Of course.
Is there anything that you see that Conor can do in this second fight, the pair of you, that's going to change the direction of travel? We've always assumed that because Chris Eubank was bigger and naturally at this weight or nearer this weight than Conor, it was always going to have that advantage. Now, we know that the idea behind the sentiments of stripping him down is disadvantageous, but is there anything that you can see in this fight that Conor does differently, given the fact that he isn't technically as good as Chris Eubank Jr., so we know that deficiency exists? I debate whether he hits hard enough to get Chris Eubank out of his comfort zone. Is there anything that you two see that Conor does anything different that produces a different outcome?
Well, I think from Conor Benn's side that he's going to have more momentum. That inactivity may have played a part. He's younger and he will come back bigger, better and stronger from that. But I can't see a different outcome. The only way that you get a different outcome is if Chris Eubank Jr. at 35 years of age, going back to 2011, has had that one fight too many, and it's taken something out of him. We've seen how he's struggling now to make the weight. 160 has been tough for him. You've got to go back to like 2015 when he was boxing the likes of George Groves in the World Boxing Super Series. Yeah, super middleweight. And he was strong then. The punch resistance was there.
Yeah.
When you drain the body down, and that would have taken its toll on him. If Eubank can deliver a performance like he did last time, 4 months ago, the outcomes are the same, but we just don't know what them effects are, and that's why the intrigue's there again.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, so moving on from Eubank and Benn, and let's start with your first prediction of events that have yet to be determined.
AJ and Wilder gets made, maybe December, I think.
Is that a wish or that's a belief that you think will really happen?
Bit of both. I was messaging Deontay back and forth around his comeback fight. Look, I was worried after the Zhilei Zhang and the Joe Parker defeats whether Deontay had anything left. He's come back. He's decided he wants to fight. He's only come back for the big names.
What do you make of him on the weekend?
He was okay. I mean,
it's your position, wasn't it?
It was a fight he had to win. He won it. He got the job done. He got rounds in. He wasn't particularly impressive. He wasn't diabolical. I mean, he was okay. And I think on the back of that, he's got back in the ring. He only wants the big fights. I think Wilder and AJ is a big possibility. It's a fight that's eluded us for a long time. AJ needs an opponent. December works.
I think, let's be honest here, Deontay Wilder at the weekend, I thought was very, very poor. Yeah. He was boxing Terrell Herndon, who was equally as poor.
Well, he was on hiding to nothing, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, 7 rounds to
but it's a
get rid of an opponent like the way that he did, and the way that he was doing that, and flapping his arms around, and
we know what Deontay's about.
Yeah, but if you look at the performance, that's not the Deontay Wilder of old. You can't say that we saw anything there that we would have seen from the old Deontay, the one that boxed Tyson Fury, to suggest that he's anywhere near back to his best.
I don't think he is, but he's still a massive name in the division, and if he wants a big fight, AJ is waiting for a big fight, and it will have jeopardy in it because of his power.
Does Anthony Joshua fighting what we now think, and I'm paraphrasing, so you can use my words rather than assume that they're yours and you can blame them on me, but does AJ get anything from beating a busted flush of a Deontay Wilder?
I'd rather see Joshua fight Fury. I'd like to see that fight. I think that fight has got to happen within the next 6 to 9 months. For boxing. And I think the two of them need that to happen to sort of finish their careers. But if AJ wants to fight in December and Tyson's not prepared to come back and we haven't maybe got the summer stadium or the spring stadium that we need here, then AJ Wilder works for me.
I know AJ's always wanted to box Deontay Wilder.
Is it a main event? Is it still considered to be a main event?
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge fight in boxing still. For people that sort of like, watch boxing occasionally, that is a huge fight still. You get AJ Wilder, AJ Fury. The timing's not right for AJ Fury right now.
No.
But Deontay Wilder is a fight that he's always wanted. He's always wanted to box the best of the modern era. Just forget where they are.
Just to clarify, we would end the year with a big Saudi card with AJ Wilder topping it. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Really?
Why not?
Yeah.
Because Wilder is not there anymore. He's left the building. He's an ex-Wilder.
And Anthony Joshua's coming off
he's like the parrot sketch from Monty Python.
And
he's
AJ's coming off a devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois.
Sure.
And he needs to come back. He hasn't fought for a long time, and he will have been out, 15 months or something. You saw him recently in Ghana. He needs to get back in the ring. He's had his injuries. He's had his issues. He's older himself now. I think him and Wilder works.
For AJ, it's a perfect opponent to come back with, just because of the name.
And
nothing else.
I'm assuming that there's no parallel universe in either one of your minds where there's a modicum of doubt that Anthony Joshua deals with him. Because if he doesn't, we're talking about legacies being damaged now,
I think if Anthony Joshua, going on Deontay Wilder's recent form for the last few fights, we're not just talking a couple of months here, going on his recent form, if Anthony Joshua can't beat Deontay Wilder convincingly
hangs up the gloves.
He's got to hang up the gloves.
The last time we saw Deontay Wilder do anything meaningful was Robert Helenius, wasn't it?
It was, and I think that the Fury trilogy has taken a huge amount out of Deontay and out of Tyson.
Nobody saw it coming, though, did they? Nobody saw the decline in Deontay. Nobody saw the performance against Joseph Parker or against Zhilei Zhang, did they?
And Fury was good against Usyk, so it's slightly different. But that trilogy was really, really tough on both of them.
Yep.
But I think Deontay comes back, he fights AJ, a big fight. You're right. If AJ doesn't deal with Deontay, this Deontay, you worry if there's a future, but I think he will. And I think it's got that jeopardy because Deontay Wilder, whatever anyone says about his form now, then, or yesterday, is the biggest single puncher we've had in boxing since Ernie Shavers.